Here, slide your chair over some, and don't be afraid to get crazy close with the mic.
Okay.
Test.
Test.
Okay, mic check.
Test.
You're good.
All right.
All right, welcome on.
Thank you.
So just a little bit about this program. I'm Coach Cameron with Phoenix College. I'm a native from Arizona, and I do a daily podcast, and I try to meet as many people as I can, learn as much as I can about the soccer community and the communities that surround us, especially Arizona. Today we have Katie-Jay. She's with us. Last name Stauring?
Scott.
Mm-hmm. So Katie-Jay Scott. She's with us, and she's representing the Darfur Academy. I don't know hardly anything about it. I just got the game management gig like 2 days ago, and you guys were hurt for a place to be, and I'm glad we were able to get involved and help you guys. So treat me like I know nothing, which I hardly know anything. Tell me about what this program is and what do you guys do?
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on first. Thanks, Dave. So the team, Darfur United, the men's team, started in 2012. We are an organization, a humanitarian action organization. We've been traveling to the refugee camps in eastern Chad where the Darfuri community is. They fled from genocide in Sudan and crossed the border into Chad, and so had been living in these camps since 2003. And in 2011, somebody approached us and said, hey, would you like to take a team of Darfuri players to the Viva World Cup? It's a World Cup for nationless people. And we said, well, that sounds like a feat, but we'll try it, and we'll ask the players, we'll ask the community in eastern Chad. And so we sent letters to all 12 camps and said, is this something that you would like to do? Gabriel, the founder of iACT, went and spoke to several leaders. And when they heard the news that they could take a team to be part of a World Cup, the Viva World Cup at the time, one of the leaders stood up and said, now we are finally part of the world. They're a very forgotten community. Eastern Chad is very, very, very remote with dirt roads in and out. We come from Los Angeles, and so it takes about 5 days from Los Angeles to even set foot in one of the refugee camps in Eastern Chad. It's super remote. And so they feel largely forgotten. So in 2012, we worked with Coach Mark, who's the current head coach of Darfur United. He's actually my stepson's old coach. We sat down, we took him out to breakfast and said, if we were going to do this, what would it look like? And how do you coach a federation, and how does it work? And by the end of the breakfast, he had volunteered to be the head coach. And Mark is still the head coach today. So in 2012, we had our first tryouts. And we sent letters again to each camp and said, we can't do tryouts in every camp. These camps have 25,000, 30,000 people in them. We said, you send us your best 5 players. You figure out how you're going to do that within your own camp system. And on these dates, in early 2012, we'll be in Camp Jabal. You send your 5 players. And so we actually had, the day we arrived, Gabriel, Coach Mark, and our other team member, James Thatcher, they showed up in the Camp Jabal, Refugee Camp Jabal, and all 60 players were there ready to try out. And Mark did about five days of training and then selected 20 players. And those 20 players then stayed and trained for 2 months. And in June 2012, we took that roster of players who were left. There was about 16 of them. 4 had returned to their camps. And they took them to Iraqi Kurdistan for the Viva World Cup. And since then, we've just expanded and grown. And this is our second training camp in North America. There's not a large community of Darfuri refugees settled in America, but a good number of them. And they have been playing football, of course, on the African continent as the number 1 sport. So in the camps, they always played. And that's kind of an abbreviated history of the Darfur United men's team.
I appreciate that because I have so many questions now. So here, who's here right now?
Like, the players here right now, they're all from Darfur, Sudan. Some are from the refugee camps in eastern Chad. Others went to other countries first and then sought asylum in the U.S. So applied to the State Department. The State Department sends representatives, and they were resettled all across the U.S. We have players. There's a large community in Tucson. So we have quite a few players from Tucson, but then from all over, some from the Northeast. There's a large Darfuri community in Texas, Nebraska, North Dakota. And so they're from all over. And we had a training camp in July. We had about 20 players there also. So 10 of the players who attended this training camp were asked back by Coach Mark Hodson to come, and 10 raised their hands. We hadn't known about them before or wanted to try out for a second time. And they're here in the Phoenix area right now.
So the group that is here now, they're trying to establish themselves on the team, and
yes,
basically they're trying out. So like any camp, I guess, for national teams and stuff.
Yeah, our goal is to have 40 rostered players that at any given time. So for instance, it looks like there's going to be a CONIFA tournament. CONIFA is the Confederation for Independent Football Associations, and that's what Darfur United is a part of, alongside of such groups as Tibet, other nationless states, Isle of Man, Carabao. And so they're going to do a tournament in Spain in June. And so Coach Mark will pull players from this North America squad, and then he'll pull players from some of our Darfuri players who are based in Sweden. And at any given point, some might be injured or some might not be able to travel because of school or work, or many here on the North American squad play for their schools. And so our goal is to have 40 roster players that Coach can pick from.
So explain me, was it iACT?
Yes.
So what's iACT? What's the acronym for that? And how's that affiliated?
So iACT, we're a humanitarian action organization, and we aid, empower, and extend hope to communities affected by mass atrocities and genocide. We originally started as advocacy organization around the genocide in Darfur, Sudan, and taking our lead from the refugee community in Eastern Chad, pivoted to a humanitarian organization that facilitates refugee-led programs, early childhood education. We have an academy, Refugees United Soccer Academy, led by refugees that push forward the sport. And then we have human rights and leadership curriculums that we do with them. And so Darfur United, both the men's and the women's teams, are programs of iACT, which used to stand for interactive activism, which is when we used to go to the camps. We would put up multimedia, have an action for people to take. They could send messages to the refugees while we were there. We would download them using satellite. Things have progressed since then on the media front, but iACT stood for that originally.
So how much does this cost?
The training camp? or our
the soccer
site,
just running it year to year.
It's about $100,000 year to year. So we do a couple training camps a year. One of those training camps is usually in Östersund, Sweden, which is quite a ways outside of Stockholm. And we bring our training staff that way. And then again, we bring the guys in. Many now live in Östersund, but before they used to come from different areas of Sweden. And then we run the training camp, the 2 in North America for this year, and then always an international tournament. And all of our coaching staff are all volunteers.
Who contributes? How do you guys raise money?
Right now, it's mostly individuals. So we're going to have a whiskey tasting in Manhattan Beach, California next month. And we have a Darfur United executive board who comes up with fundraising ideas. Each of the World Cups that we've done, it's trying to find sponsors for the bags and sponsors for the uniforms, which right now we have a sponsor for the water bottles. And so we try to piece it together like that. We're definitely interested in trying to find larger sponsors who want to put their name behind the team. And we have sponsorship information that we push out, just haven't quite landed it yet.
So if someone wanted to contribute, how do they contribute?
If you go to darfurunited.com, if you want to contribute financially, you can make a donation there. My information is on the website if they wanted to talk about sponsorship. And then if somebody wants to get involved in terms of getting their company involved to provide in kind something, wanting to come out and do media, then you get in touch with our team, and we try to make it a really personal process. I've found that I feel like I benefit, and I'm from being around the guys so much more than maybe they benefit from it. So we try to strategically create those relationships. Like, so for instance, here, Ortho Arizona is a local orthopedic and physical trainers, and they have a partnership with Cedars-Sinai, Curl and Job, who we work with in the Los Angeles area for all of our medical staff and medical supplies and physio supplies. And so we had a couple doctors on the field these last 2 games come out and be present with us and take a look at one of our guys whose knee is not looking so good.
Yeah.
So we create strategic opportunities like that too for people to get involved.
Okay. So couple more questions. So when you guys actually travel to Sudan,
We go
how
to
do you get there?
Yeah, so it's usually a flight through Paris into N'Djamena, Chad, which is the capital of Chad. And then we work with humanitarian groups on the ground, so Desert Refugee Services or UNHCR, to get on the humanitarian flights, which is a smaller flight to the east. Some of our luggage has to go either cargo weight or be driven out, which is a whole day's drive out in the desert. And then from there, it's usually an overnight in the local village that's closest to the camps. And then we get to walk into the camp. So it's a combination.
Takes 5 days.
Takes about 5 days. And that's if all the permits go well.
Okay.
So you can get held up every time we go to N'Djamena, Chad. We have to get new visas, new permits for all sorts of stuff for being present in the country. To be able to move throughout the country, you have to have permits to be able to get on the humanitarian flights, to take official media, so pictures or video, you have to get another permit for that. You have to go to the police station in N'Djamena and get a stamp on your circulation papers. So there's a couple steps in there.
So how many World Cups has there been for?
Kanifa started in 2014. So we were in the 2012 Viva World Football Cup. And then in 2014, Kanifa started, kind of grew out of Viva. And then 2014, 2018, which Darfur United did not qualify for, which is why we're making a much bigger push and doing a lot more training camps and qualifying matches. And then 2020 is the next one.
How many teams or how many countries are represented in the World Cup?
16. 16 teams, yeah.
How many compete to get into the final 16?
About 64.
Okay.
About 64 from all over.
So what's your region or area that you have to compete with to get into the final 16?
Yeah, so we are in the African region. And so we compete against such countries as Somaliland, Western Sahara. Those are all in like Northern Africa. And there's a couple teams who are actually based in London, but who are exiled from African countries. And so they're living there, and it's easier for them to get games because London has a lot more communities. I think Somaliland, which is actually an Asian country, they're based also in London. So yeah, we're the African region, but we have players mostly in Sweden and right now in North America. But we're always looking for players. So if you're Darfuri and you're listening to this, go to darfurunited.com, send us a note, and we'll take a look.
Okay, so say you miss someone, and I identify someone that's really good.
Yeah.
What can we take video and send it off to Mark? Or
yeah, I think that's going to be the best process we have. We have a assistant coach, Amy Gilmore, who usually does a verbal interview with the player just to make sure that they're Darfuri and they follow those lines, which means either their parents were born in Darfur or their grandparents were born in Darfur. Most of the team members right now, they themselves have been born in Darfur, but we're getting this the second generation are actually getting old enough to play. And then for those who are far away, like in Australia or even in England, there's quite a few Darfuris. We would take a look at video, be in contact with Mark. Mark might ask for specific types of video. But definitely in the instance where we don't get to see the player directly, talking to coaches of that player would be really beneficial for Mark.
Well, I'm hopeful that, now that we've met, and I'm pretty positive that Phoenix College can get involved. I mean, we're a refugee drop zone. There's a lot of caring faculty and staff here at the college that would probably want to get more involved, which will hopefully help you in savings and costs and whatnot.
Yeah.
I know with our soccer program, I'll work with you guys for next year that we can set up. Is it Darfur? How do you say the name?
Darfur.
Darfur.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's the Darfuri region?
Darfuri, yeah. The Darfuri region.
Darfuri?
Yes.
Okay. I got confused. So we could do a Darfur tournament, like a 3v3 tournament before you even come, to hopefully just pay for your rental, and then you won't have to deal with that.
That would be great.
We do have a foundation set up here, so we're able to, if we're doing things before you get here, we can get it into our foundation, and our foundation can write the check on your behalf.
Great.
So now that we know who you are, well, and you guys did such a great job here. I mean, you guys you cleaned after yourselves. You're very a lot of groups that come in, they kind of they come in and I have a big mess to clean. So I really appreciate you guys, and you're very considerate of others, and obviously, the organization you're representing. So hopefully we can get this message out. I know our campus is going to see this video, and all my soccer contacts in Arizona, and we have a lot of Africans on my team. There's African leagues here, so I'm sure they're connected as well. So if there is any potential athletes that can help you guys, we'll hopefully get the word out, and hopefully get you some sponsors in as well. So anyways, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming to Phoenix College, and hopefully we can help each other down the road. It's an awesome program. Very excited to improve our relationship, and I'll put in the link description on YouTube all the information they need to be able to contact your website and whatnot. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. You've been a great host.
Appreciate it. I hope you guys do well. World Cup's when?
It's next year. So we're looking at doing another Phoenix one about this time next year, and that'll be probably the last training camp before. It's usually June.
And that'll probably be the team then by then. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Dave. Cool. And we have a jersey for you also.